What about you, Derek? Tell us about you.
Well, I'm kind of like Q. I grew up here. I was born in '88. It was grew up here, went to school here. Chased my
For all of our international listeners, explain what here is.
Albertville,
Artville.
Artville, not Boaz. Okay?
Not Boaz.
Not Boaz, not Gunnersville, not Arab.
Yeah.
Artville. Okay. Not Aroni. Artville.
Artville.
Chased my high school sweetheart to Auburn. I knew we were going to get married after we broke up, so had to get her back. So went down to Auburn and enrolled, got accepted. She took me back. We got married. We have 2 kids. So that part worked out. After we graduated,
You're not paying child support.
no. After we graduated, I got a job. I got a job at Opelika Middle School. I was a teacher. I got to coach football. It's funny, like I was gonna be the next Nick Saban. I was gonna be the GOAT. And I thought that in my mind I was already Nick Saban. I learned that sometimes the ladder of success is not exactly what you think. It doesn't move, but really and truthfully, when you've got a group of young men at such a vital age, and like for me, I coached 8th grade, coached middle school. When you still can keep contact with kids and people and parents, talk about the impact that you had. That's way more important than just being good at X's and O's. So I coached. I got plugged into Highlands College. I was in a small group. I wasn't saved until I was 18, but I grew up in church. I was like typical church kid. Thought I was saved. Said all the right things. Did all the right things. Well, on the surface. Saved when I was 18. Then went through this period in my 20s where I had a lot of freedom. Did what I wanted to do. Lived my life. God radically changed me through Church of the Highlands, and I got plugged into Highlands College and worked on a certificate of ministry. And then it was through a small group. I mean, even God changing me and feeling like I was communicating with God. Like I still was going to coach, I still was going to teach, but I was going to do that for God. But that was what I was going to do. And then one night in a small group, my small group leader, like what they would do is at the end of each small group, the leaders would go and pray for each man individually. And then one night, Keith, my small group leader, I noticed that he's not praying, like he's talking, and I'm like this is weird. And he just said, Derek, like you're not a coach. Like he said that. He said, you're not a coach. He said, you're a pastor. And then he said that. He goes, you're my pastor. And he said, you're my pastor. And God's put this gift. He's put this call on your life. And felt nothing emotionally to that comment, by the way. Like it wasn't...
Did you look at him and be like, oh,
I was like, okay.
Cool.
It was like, whatever. Like it wasn't like I broke down in tears and the sky opened up and God was like... This is my son. He's my kid. I love him. He's going to preach. Like it wasn't that deal, but as time went on, those words and the Holy Spirit like convicted me and moved me. And then my old pastor of the church I grew up at Solitude, he called me one summer day and was like, "Hey, I have this crazy idea, and but I just want to talk to you." He's like, "You just come up next time you're home, 4th of July. Next time you're in Albertville, we'll talk." And that's all he said. That's all I knew. And I walked out of the bedroom. I was in my guest bedroom in Opelika when he called, and I walked out, and my wife was sitting in the recliner. I said, she was like, "Who is that?" And I was like, "This is my old pastor when I was a kid." She's like, "Oh, really? What did he want?" And I was like, "Oh, he just wanted to talk." She goes, "What does he want to talk about next time you're home?" And I said, "I don't know, but we're going to have to sell the house, and we're going to have to move home." And she went, "No, we're not." And I was like, "I'm just telling you, yeah, we are." Like, I knew. Like, yeah. I just knew. And so for the last 5 years, I have been a youth pastor, small groups, youth, church growth and development, a lot of other things. So that's me.
That sounds so professional, church growth and development.
It does.
Sounds
it sounds like I should have a business card.
That's awesome. Clay?
My contract just got bumped up.
Before we go me, you didn't share an embarrassing story about yourself.
All right, so I thought about this some. It actually didn't
Mine's
come,
very bad.
it didn't
mine's
come
very
to me
bad.
until later. But you know how like parties in middle school are such a big deal. Okay, you know your parents have to drop you off, but
Right.
it's such a big deal. Just
He didn't go to parties.
I did not go to parties.
well, it really wasn't parties. It was more just like
He didn't go
Get-
to those.
You talking about like
let
birthday?
me look at you.
You talking about
'cause
like
you know.
You talking about
I
like
know what
birthday
you're talking
parties? Is that what you're talking about?
He didn't go to those.
Were there pinatas? Did you have a pinata?
I am the
So-
least cool guy.
So I remember in middle school, I was in 8th grade. You know, like the most vital year probably. 8th grade is just such a pivotal year, psychologically, emotionally, relationally, and so my buddy has a party, and we were like down in this woods area, and he's got this cool like shed house thing in the woods, and like when it was just us guys that we slept in that shed. But they've got lights and generators, and now it's all lit up, and you know all of my friends are like hanging out in this shed, and there's this ladder that goes up to this loft, and there's people like there's adults here. I mean we're in 8th grade, so there are adults around, and I remember. So my friends were up there, and I was the social butterfly in middle school. So
Imagine
I was gonna come up the ladder and say hello, and so I get about halfway up the ladder. And a buddy of mine, his name was Quentin Arnold, grabs the bottom of my shorts, okay, as I'm on this ladder. And I don't know if you've ever had your shorts or pants removed while you're on a ladder. There's very little that you can do to recover from that immediately
Without letting go of
Without
the
letting go of the ladder. So like I'm halfway on top.
Did you have to climb back? Go
I had to make a decision. Do I try to get down? Do I go down to fix this, or do I go up to fix this? And meanwhile, everybody is losing it.
Oh, I
you know what I'm
imagine
saying?
so,
Just
yeah.
losing it.
Yeah.
All right. I think I went up. I like my mind. I've
kinda
blocked.
blacked out.
I've blacked out. Like I don't.
You went into
I think I
dissociative
went
state.
up.
You
Yeah,
went-
this was like gone. All right, and then all right. I survived that, you know, and everybody's kind of cool about it. Like, hey, remember Derek lost his pants, you know, whatever. All right, but then really and truthfully, it was embarrassing to lose your shorts in front of like your friend group. Okay.
Yeah.
The more embarrassing thing is it was Drake Smith and his dad. I spent my whole from middle school on till high school. The Smiths in a way raised me. I love Mike and Cinda. What's funny is when my parents picked me up to this party, Mike comes out to the car. And dad, my mom and dad are there, and my sisters are in the van because you know they just for some reason they all came to pick me up from this party, and so I get in the car, and there's nothing in my mind that's like. So Mike walks out, and my dad's like, "Well, did he behave?" You know, typical dad talk. Mike said, "Well, Jeff,
He got paid.
we need to talk about something," and Mike is just dead, and I'm like. What do they got to talk about? I didn't do anything at this point. I didn't get in trouble. Like, what are we doing? And Mike says, Jeff, we need to have a conversation about your son keeping his pants on. And I remember my mom going, oh, you know, that like typical, like, and I'm like, and then Mike broke character and he laughed and he goes, oh, Derek got pantsed on the ladder. It was great. Everybody, and I was just, but I'll just never forget. Like
That's
that was
funny.
the scariest. One, it was this. Once my mom went, you know, like
Yeah.
oh my gosh. But yeah, that was pretty embarrassing.